So here today we're going to talk about should you go to Indonesia, and more specifically Bali, because we spent a month there and we wanted to bring you everything that we felt is important for you to make a good decision whether or not Bali is right for you and your family. Do you think that you would go to Bali again?
Absolutely not. But I think you have to put it into perspective. I would not go there with my family. If I was a single person, young, especially young, loves to travel, 100% without a question, go to Bali. I feel that with the family, it wasn't what we wanted. It wasn't necessarily a good fit for us. I think out of the places that we've been and the places that we're going to that you'll see or have seen, they were more suited to what we wanted, especially for the kids.
Yeah, and I have to agree. I would say no, I wouldn't go to Bali. If you're a family of 4 or just a family in general, I think that you should just not. I think there's better places. I agree. So we have some reasons as to why we came up with that decision, and we're going to share those with you today. And the first thing that we're going to talk about, though, is the do's and don'ts. And so let's start with our do's. So the first do is eat local food. Get out of the resorts. The food is terrible. It's expensive. And out of all the places that we stayed, I think we ate at one good resort. And other than that, we just really did not like the food.
And it wasn't even our own resort. It was a sushi place called Allspice.
Yes.
Check it out. Very, very good. But yeah, she's definitely right. Go check out the local food. Now, on top of that, it is spicy. I mean, they like their food in Indonesia legitimately off the chart spicy. So just be prepared for that. And, if you've got kids, ask for low. Even the low spice was a bit much for me. I'm kind of a weenie.
Yeah, and so I think our favorite foods that we ate at is when we went to the grocery store and they had all of these little carts set up outside and these women were cooking, and we had the most incredible soup, which that was the only place that I found that soup. I looked for it everywhere we went. We had the fried tofu from a cart, and it was so good. Get out and eat that local food. That's why you're there, is to experience that culture, and they make the best foods at those little carts and little stands and street foods.
Absolutely. And anything that comes on a stick is amazing. So definitely check out the local food. It was way good.
Yeah, River loved the corn dog on a stick.
It was
she absolutely loved it. It was a lot of bread, but she loved it.
A lot of bread. A lot
I think
of
it
corn,
had cheese in it.
A little bit of dog. Could use more dog.
Oh, stop it. All right.
I didn't mean rough dog. I meant like meat.
Oh, corn dog. Oops.
The second do is bring your own scuba gear and snorkeling gear if you can.
Yeah. So a lot of times we had some issues with the local gear when we were scuba diving, and it kind of made the dives really not fun. And so we really recommend, if you can, bring your mask, bring your snorkel, bring your fins. I know they're a pain to pack. Try to bring a regulator if you've got one. That was one of our biggest issues, were the regulators. You have to remember that you're renting equipment, and sometimes they're not in the best shape, or they're being used by a lot of people. And if you can get that mask that is specific to your face, you're going to have a much better dive and a much better snorkel.
Yeah, if that's your whole goal, is to go there and go diving, then bring your own equipment, because we had numerous bad dives, and they were all related to equipment. And we had brought in our own goggles and we had our own technical problems, but we had more problems with the equipment there.
Okay, another do is bring your own medicine. We have talked about this in our other videos, like when we were in the Philippines, but I always get traveler's tummy, and so do the kids. Joel's got a steel gut, so he doesn't usually have issues, but we always do. So we always go to our doctor before we leave and get the medicines that we need to get, and we bring them with us. Now, that being said, if you do go and you need a doctor or you need medicine, it is absolutely so reasonably priced.
Yeah. And they're everywhere. Everywhere you are, there is some kind of roadside clinic. and there's almost zero waits, and they are so kind, and anything you need, from heart problems to heartburn to just a wicked hangover.
Yeah.
I mean, they specialize in all of that. They are
They do.
more than gracious. And when I went to the clinic there, got some blood work because I was feeling yucky, and we couldn't figure out why I was feeling yucky. Turns out to just be exhaustion. It'll do it to you. But we did all this blood work, 2 doctor visits and all that. And they were like, "Oh, sir, this is going to be very expensive." And at the end, the bill was like $75, $80.
It's actually $56.
Wow.
It was $56. And yeah, like you said, it was 2 consultations. So we did the initial consultation. They did the full panel blood work. And then he went back and got the results. The doctor called you like 2 or 3 times. Yeah. And he was like, he was really genuinely
just checking up on me.
Curious. Like he was really, really concerned about him because he was just feeling so yucky. And so just super, super awesome guys. There was another time when we were in Gili T, and again, he was feeling yucky. And we called the doctor just to check his blood, and they came to our villa, checked his blood, and again, I think it was $20 or something like that. He checked it right there and was able to run just a whole bunch of tests. And I think it was like $20, and they were awesome. So again, if you do have to do that, it's so reasonably priced that it's not a big deal.
There's no reason not to. You're just hurting yourself if you need something. Just go.
And the reason why I bring the medicine is because I know what the issue is, and I can take care of it without actually needing to go in, and saves us a couple of hours when we want to be out having fun.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, our next do, and this is a big one. Do give yourself a lot of extra time. The traffic is insane, and I know people have talked about it, but it is crazy. We stayed in Nusa Penida, which is on the southeast side of the island, and the day that we went surfing, we went to the west coast, and it took over an hour, and that was at 6 o'clock in the morning.
And it's not far. It might have been maybe 20 miles.
Yeah.
I don't even think it was 20 miles. It's probably closer to 10.
I'll look it up.
Yeah. But it was crazy. And even when we had to go out of the main city there to get to the next resort, we drove for
hours.
It was probably 4 hours. And after 4 hours, when we got to the temple there, you could see the place where we departed from. Mm-hmm. Across the bay, and it was just it's crazy. So you've really got to give yourself time, and that goes for the whole island of Bali. Going around it and stuff like that, cutting through it, it's a process. Even there might not be any traffic, but plan on it taking quite a while. It takes quite a while to go from one end of the island to the other end of the island. It might even be almost a full day.
And it's not a very big island.
No.
But it does take a very, very long time. So give yourself lots of time. And that includes going to the airport. And this is one of the things that we'll talk about later in the video too. But this also includes that if you have drivers like we do, or we did, that you kind of understand the fact that they're always going to be late.
Yeah.
So... And we'll talk about that later on in the video, but again, do give yourself that extra time for your drivers to get there because they're going to be late.
They're stuck in traffic too.
Yep.
So the other thing that you can do while you're there is don't be afraid to tip your driver. It's not common that they get tipped, but they are gratefully appreciative for it. And they will actually bend over backwards and go out of their way to make sure that you have a good time. Mm-hmm. And again, $8 to you is a different thing to them. They're working just as hard like you do. So it really does make a difference. And I've said that before on every place that we've gone. Mm-hmm. It always helps to just throw a little money their way at the beginning. And
yeah, I agree. And I feel like every time that we tip the drivers, we tip the guides or anything along that way, they're so appreciative of everything, and they're just so kind. So I really feel like it's just a really nice gesture just to tell them like, hey, we did have a great time, and we really appreciate all of the effort that you put through. You know, we had some amazing guides who just did excellent for us, and so we just wanted to give them a little extra.
And again, it is a neat experience, and I really encourage you to try it, just to give them a little tip right at the beginning, right when you first meet them. Say, hey, this is just the minimum tip you're going to have for the whole day or the whole experience. And, you know, this is just saying thank you for showing up and wow, and being on time and stuff like that. You know, that's what that's for. And then at the end, you can give them more, and they will work harder, and you will have a such better experience.
Yeah, I agree.
If you're on a dive and the dive master is just screaming through the water and you want to stop and check out some fish and some rocks, don't let them troll you through there.
Yeah.
You know, you're paying the money, you're making the time. It's about you. They will stop when they see that you have stopped. So
yeah, and even letting them know that you want to see things on the way, that you don't want to just swim through, is also a good suggestion.
The other thing that I would suggest, and this information was given to me by a friend. He said, you know, when you look at the big group dives and stuff like that, we don't like doing that. And we didn't think there was a way around it. And he informed me that if you just offer to pay for the other tanks, usually it's 4-person in a group, if you just offer to pay for the other tanks, they're okay with that because they bill by the tank. So if you just want you and a buddy, or you and the dive person go out, the dive master, then just tell them that's what you want, and you're willing to compensate them for that.
Right.
It's a much better experience.
Yeah, and the tanks aren't very expensive, so it's definitely worth it, so that you get a little bit more of a individual feel and an individual dive.
And on top of that, you're paying for the tanks, so you've got the tanks. So if you want to go back,
and do 2 dives,
you've already got the tanks. It's even better.
Yeah. A lot of people in their videos talk about this, so we'll kind of reiterate it because it is kind of a big thing.
Talking about stepping over things,
Yeah.
I wouldn't even cover it. I just feel that that's just beat to death. If you watch another video, that's the first thing they're going to talk about is stepping over
Don't
offerings.
step on the offerings. So that's it. Okay, on to our next subject is when to go. So we went for the entire month of June, and it was beautiful. The weather was absolutely perfect. Sometimes it got a little warm, but for the most part, the temperature was absolutely perfect.
Yeah. It was nice. The humidity was well within reason. It was great. It was great. Rained a little bit, but that was pleasant the whole time.
Yeah, it rained a couple of times, like when we were up in West Bali, or when we were, in North Bali. It rained a couple of times, and it was just absolutely beautiful. But other than that, like, it just was awesome. So we said that we would not go back to Bali, especially as a family. Again, we said that if you are a single couple, or you're a couple, or you're a digital nomad, like, it might actually be awesome for you.
It would be perfect. It's so pretty, and there's so much to do and stuff like that. But our kids were just so unenthused the entire time we were there.
Right.
And that makes it unfun for us because they're not having a good time.
So what we wanted to tell you were our main issues and why we wouldn't go back, or why we don't suggest it for families. And our first thing is we had a lot of hotel issues. Every hotel except for probably 2 or 3 that we stayed at, we had hotel issues. And even though when we first got there, we had hotel issues, we brought it up to our travel agency, and we said, hey, you know, just try to make sure that they have these things fixed for the next hotels. We still had issues.
And the thing you have to understand too is that, so these vacations mean a lot to us. They really do. We're here in Saudi Arabia the rest of the year, so we work and save very hard so we can have a vacation that we want. So the resorts that we stayed at are not 3-star resorts. They're 4 minimum, 5 on average. And so you expect a certain level of just cleanliness. We really struggled with that on every single occasion.
And it's the rooms were very nice. The problem was the forethought of the fact that people are coming in to stay there. Our big issues were a lot of our places had private pools, and the pools were dirty, so the kids couldn't jump in right away, which is something that they wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know, especially if it was warm outside. They were like, hey, I want to jump in the pool. And I'm like, you can't, it's green. So now I've got to call.
And a lot green.
And yeah, like not a little green, like green. You notice it's green. So, and then I have to call and say, hey, you guys need to come out. And then they're like, okay. And they come out, and then they have to chalk the pool. And then you can't get in the pool for so many hours. And that's why we, got a place with a pool. So that was a big issue. Or not having hand towels or soap, like soap to wash your hands, or just certain things like that that you would expect from a hotel. We ran into quite often.
Air conditioners not working. It was
every hotel, I think, had a problem.
Unusually frustrating when it shouldn't have been. So, you'd get to a resort and you'd spend half the day in the car because transportation is slow. And then you would have to turn around and effectively fight for what you paid for. And I don't think fight's the right word, but you had to come in and say, look, I don't have towels. The air conditioner doesn't work.
The toilet's broken.
The toilet's broken,
It doesn't flush.
And to their credit, they were always trying to accommodate. They were always trying to go above and beyond, which was great. I mean, and quite often, it happened once for sure, probably twice, where they had just upgraded us. And we didn't want the upgrade. We didn't like the upgrade. We're like, oh, well, this was the room that you got, but we upgraded you to this. And we're like, but we want this. This is better for us. And they were more than happy to just facilitate the change.
And it was hard on me as a mom because I, would get to a place and I'd want to unpack, because that's the first thing I do is I unpack everything. So it's like we move in for 3 or 4 days. And it was kind of hard because I'm trying to unpack, or I would unpack, and then we find out the air conditioner is not working as well. And then I have to pack everything back up so we could move to another room so I could unpack again. And at the end of the month, we just were frustrated and we were just done.
Yeah. It was really a drag having to work every single time that we stopped.
So the other issue of why we say that you shouldn't go, and I kind of alluded to this a little bit in the do's about giving yourself a lot of time, is we had issues with drivers constantly. I know we're supposed to be a little lenient when it comes to the drivers, but we had drivers that were sometimes 2 hours late.
Oh, yeah. And again, it comes back to that. Now we've got kids and they're tired, and it's already been a long day and coming off of a ferry that you spent half a day someplace else. And now you just want to go someplace where you can, have a cold beer and lie down. Mm-hmm. And your kids feel the same way too. They just need to unplug for a little bit in someplace dark and cool. And you're standing on the side of the road waiting for a driver that's never going to show up.
And like I said, one of them was 2 hours late, and we ended up having to call a taxi. And we just said, you know what, don't come. If you're going to be 2 hours late, we'll just call a taxi. And we called a taxi, and we were to our hotel quickly. But it was frustrating. So just keep that in mind when you go.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next, she's going to talk about something that nobody talks about because nobody knows.
True story.
What is that thing that nobody talks about that nobody knows?
Indonesia is a Muslim country, and Bali is Muslim and Hindu. And so one of the things that you need to know is if you travel outside of the big city, you will probably be woke up about 4:30 in the morning with the call to prayer. All of our hotels were located right next to a mosque, and they do the call to prayer 5 times a day. And if you're not used to it, we live in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
We hear it all the time. If you're not used to it, you're going to hear it, and it's not a bad thing. It's just something that you might need to be aware of.
Yeah, just be ready and courteous for it. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It'll last a little bit depending on where you are, usually about 15 minutes, and then it stops. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the other thing is again, if you don't like mornings, at 4:30 in the morning is also when they start to burn the incense for the Hindus, and those offerings that you're not supposed to kick and things like that. That's when they start to set those out, and all the incense does burns. If you are, sensitive to smells like we are, it can stuff up your nose, or you can sneeze, or whatever.
And by we, she means me and the allergies.
And Desmond.
Yeah, 4 o'clock in the morning, waking up to a massive allergy attack because somebody's burning dragon mist incense. It's
Right
rough.
next. Yeah. So again, it's just one of those things that you might want to be aware of, is that you're going to smell that. And at 4:30 in the morning is also when they start to light their fires in the rural areas, which is really cool. Again, though, you're going to get the smell of burning something, burning woods or burning leaves or whatever they're burning.
Yeah, and I think it's more it obscures the views because they have to light their cook stoves and stuff like that. So
That's
the
true.
valleys are quite often full of smoke and haze. So that's part of the life there. You know, they've got to eat, and so you're going to see smoke, lots of it.
Yeah, when we were up in the mountains, you could definitely see all of the smoke aversion that was covering the valley as we were looking down. We got a little bit of clear for a couple of hours, but for the most part, it was smoky. And so even though you think you're going to be up on this big, beautiful mountain and you're going to have this clear skies and you're going to have all this clear view, you might not. So just be aware of it. So another thing you need to know is that Bali is not Instagram. Even though it is extremely beautiful, even though it is extremely beautiful, it is nothing like the Instagram pictures. So be aware of that, because you're gonna get someplace like Angel's Billabong or Broken Beach, and there's 1,001 people, and they're also standing in line to get those pretty pictures of the heart, and it's just not what it looks like.
Yeah, those photos are so doctored and pampered. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's beautiful, but don't go to those places because, as she said, there's lines and they charge you. You want a picture in front of a heart, they charge you. It might be $1 if that's what you want to do. Great. The other side of that too is when you kind of pull back that curtain behind those spots, the mountains of trash. There are just, and I kid you not, mountains of trash. You know, people just walking up the trails and stuff like that, and they just chuck it off on the side of the trail, man. Pack it in, pack it out.
Yeah.
It's sad because the country is beautiful. The country's absolutely gorgeous, but the tourists treat it like a dumpster. So don't be one of those people.
Yeah, we saw that in Angel's Billabong with like the massive amounts of garbage. And it was really, really sad to see such a beautiful place being mistreated so much.
Yeah, so if you're going there for Instagram shots, or you're going there because of the Instagram shots, it's still beautiful. I would kind of steer clear of those locations that you've heard about and go other places.
Off the beaten path.
Yeah, there's less people. It's a lot less unmolested.
Yep.
And you'll have a better time because you won't spend your time standing in line to see a rock with a hole in a grotto.
Yeah. And I think we were really surprised at how many people there actually were in all of those places. You know, when we, talking about Angel's Billabong, we were there and it was kind of windy, so we were kind of surprised. But even the people were standing there. There was 3 people flying drones in this tiny little area over all these people's heads, which is a big no-no. And I'm like, they're gonna crash, you know. And then when we went up to Mount Ijen, there were so many people at the top of that mountain, and massive line again, and they're all standing on the edge of the volcano getting their Instagram shots. And where we were standing, I'm like, this is a much nicer spot.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as busy. And so just know that other people have seen those Instagram shots too, so they're going to want to go there, but there's better places for you to actually go.
Sure. And we'll talk about Mount Ijen here in a little bit.
Yes. Next subject is the language barrier. One of the things that kind of surprised us is that in the resorts, there was quite a language barrier that we weren't really expecting. We know that when you go out of the resorts, of course there's going to be language barriers, and of course when we are with the local people, we don't expect them to speak English. But we were in really, really nice resorts who said that they speak English, but for a lot of it, we seemed like sometimes it was lost in translation, or they just didn't either understand. We had a problem with our driver not speaking English well enough.
Well,
remember?
that's a problem. Like, look, at hotels, resorts, Google Translate is amazing, but if you're a driver you need to be able to comprehend who you're supposed to be getting instructions from. And so I'd get a lot of, yes, sir, okay. And no, that's not what was happening. So there was a lot of confusion on the transportation issues. You'd say one thing and he would just agree with you and not knowing what you really, really wanted. So I understand.
Sure.
I remember that, yeah.
Oh, good. I'm glad I jogged your memory.
Oh, you jog?
No, God, no.
I'll jog if there's a bear.
Okay, so the next thing is why we said that it's not really for families, and maybe more specifically not really for our family, is that our kids really didn't have a good time. And probably because it was really repetitive.
Yeah, it was just a temple and a waterfall and then another temple and another waterfall. And I'm not picking on the temples and I'm not picking on the waterfalls. But, you know, when you've seen 6 temples, I'm pretty sure the next 6 look the same.
Are going to look pretty similar.
So our kids just hated it. They'd wake up in the morning like, are we going to another temple? Yes, we are.
They were very excited when I told them it was the last temple.
And it wasn't.
And it wasn't.
So, yeah, I mean, the kids did not really enjoy it. I don't know. It's hard to say because they didn't enjoy seeing the temples and stuff like that. Des didn't like having to wear the whole sarong.
Yeah.
I got it. It's a sarong.
It's sarong.
He didn't like having to wear that. He just thought it was funny having to wear a dress. I don't mind wearing a dress. I think I look good. I got nice legs.
And also, you know, one of the big things that we love when we travel is our kids get to meet other kids from all over the world. And we really try to get our guides or people that we stay with to bring their kids so they interact with our kids. That's a big part of our life and our lifestyle is having our kids experience other cultures and other children. And so we just didn't see any families except for once in Bali. There was no kids there. I mean, I just never saw them.
No.
So our kids were kind of like, there's nobody to play with. And I'm like, I didn't realize that there wasn't going to be anybody for you guys to play with. And I'm really sorry.
There wasn't any real family groups or anything like that anywhere we went.
So the next thing that we should probably talk about is the dress code. So even though Bali is pretty Western, again, it is a Muslim country and Hindu. So you do need to make sure that you're dressing appropriately. You want to be still respectful. And you need to also make sure that you research the dress codes for the temples. So when we went to the Uluwatu temple, Desmond had to wear the
sarong.
And he hated it. Or we went to...
What did he hate?
The sarong. How do you do it?
Sarong. He
Sarong.
He did not like the sarong.
Or when we went to the Buddhist temple, he had to wear one there too. And so that's just something to kind of keep in mind. You can bring one or you can buy one and just, you know, put it around your legs or whatever. But even for men, they have to cover up their legs. So something to think about because it was hot and you want to wear shorts, you want to wear your tank top, you want to wear your cute little sundress, but not to the temples. Okay, so to change the subject a little bit, we want to tell you why we went to Bali in the first place. Because we said we wouldn't go back, but there was this very specific reason why we went in the first place.
We wanted to go sailing. We wanted to get on a catamaran. We wanted to learn to sail. We wanted to do that. So we made a reservation with a company, and then we made our reservations and paid our deposits and stuff like that for the whole month. And shortly before our trip, the
3 days.
Sailing outfit canceled on us. And they were still towards the end of our trip, so they thought, oh, we're a month out, it's not that big of a deal. Well, we'd already reserved and paid for everything, and it was a huge deal.
Yeah.
It was a massive deal, because at that point, you know, we wouldn't have actually gone, because we wanted to go sailing. We wanted to try it. It was rather a bummer.
And also, when I researched the #1 place to scuba dive in the world, Indonesia came up every single time. And diving is really important to me. I love to dive, and Joel puts up with it, just like I put up with skiing for him. So for me, I just wanted to go, if we're gonna go sailing, why not go to the world's best diving and sail there? And Indonesia is an incredibly beautiful country. But unfortunately for us, it didn't work. And I think we were really upset because we couldn't get on a boat and we couldn't go sailing. Indonesia has some really weird laws when it comes to chartering boats. So, and it ended up just not working out for us.
No.
So that being said, what was your favorite place in Bali?
My favorite place in Bali. Ubud was kind of cool. I liked the place, the resort on the northwestern side with Joe's and stuff like that. The place with the green pool. Peppa Pig?
Shit.
It's going to be right here.
It's good. The name's right there. Also, this is probably a good time to tell you guys to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share with all your friends, leave us a comment. Did you guys like Bali or not? You know, if you've been there, what should we do if we ever go back? Should we go back? Is there better places to stay? Like, leave us comments. Let us know.
Yeah. Even the mean ones.
Yeah, we love the mean ones.
Yep.
We love you trolls. You guys are awesome. You make us giggle. So why was that your favorite place though?
Peku Tang Tang. It was just a great resort. They had the great resorts, the cabanas, the covered porch. We had our own pool. We even had our own pool, but the kids spent all our time in the other pool. That was the like the first place that we went diving. That was subpar. We got to go scuba diving over there, and that was really cool. Again, we had a lot of technical problems with equipment. But even then, over there on the northwest side, this snorkeling was awesome.
Really
River
good.
got to do the bubble maker stuff. So it's a lot less people, but it is just gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
One of the great things about the north side of Bali is that it's walkable, and we absolutely loved Joe's. We had a fantastic meal there. The owner, Joe, is just absolutely awesome. So I think it was a great place.
Food was great. It was a wonderful spot.
He went and got me a bottle of wine because he thought I'd like it, and I did. It was awesome.
Fancy. So what place did you like in Bali or
So-
Indonesia?
I think I have to agree. I do love the north side of Bali. It's absolutely beautiful. But I also really liked Gili Tea. And I know that wasn't one of your favorite places, but I loved the vibe of Gili Tea. So we stayed up on the north side of the island, and we were away from all of like the craziness. Again, we said if you are single or if you are a young couple, go to Gili Tea, because if you stay in the town part, it's like so awesome. But again, family of four, we stayed on the north side and it was perfect. So the north side of Gili Tea is just absolutely beautiful. The sunsets are to die for. And it was great for us because we were outside of the little city that's super busy. It was super quiet up there, and our kids really, really liked it up there too. But it was nice enough to be able to walk to town. It was a 20-minute walk. I'm going to say a very unpopular thing about Gili Tea. Don't rent the bikes. They're a waste of time because the sand is so deep in certain places that we end up just watching people just push their bikes.
Yeah, they hit that. I'd say a third of the island, they just ended up
pushing their bikes.
and as we walked past them.
As we walked past them. So, but I loved Gili Tea. I loved the vibe. I loved the colors. It was very colorful. I loved diving there and snorkeling there. I thought it was just absolutely just awesome.
Yeah, and the neat thing is so right off of Gili Tea on the north side, that's where all the, I think they call that Turtle Beach or something like that.
Yeah, Turtle Beach is by Gili Air, I believe.
Well, on the north side of Gili Tea, but all the charter boats and stuff like that, they pick you up and they take you to the north side to go look at sea turtles. If you just walk out there, right off the beach, it's so shallow and it just gets deeper and deeper. They're right there. You don't have to go get on a boat and do that stuff. You can just go to the north side of the island, walk out there, spend some time surfing around, and you will find turtles. They're everywhere.
Yeah, and I actually think that, we went snorkeling on a boat, and I think that, it was really good, but it was really busy. Like there's just boats everywhere. Like we had our heads on a swivel just because we were like, oh my gosh, is this boat just gonna run over our kids or anything? Like, are they going to see us snorkeling?
Yeah.
So it is very busy, but like Joel said, you can literally just walk out on the beach from there, from the north side or almost anywhere, and there's all the marine life that you could ever want. So
Yeah,
it's awesome.
everything's kind of on what was it, on the east side, southeast side of the island.
Yeah, that's
And
where the
so
town is.
Then when you get on the north side, and even on the other side, there's even more resorts on the west side, and you can just walk right out, and it's all right
awesome.
there.
Yeah. So I liked Gili T.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really happy that our hotel that we originally were going to stay at in Lombok didn't work out. It was just, we found plastic in our drinks, and so we ended up quitting and moving to Gili T. And I am so happy that we did.
And mold climbing up the walls. It looked like the room had just been flooded, just had fresh water damage. It was quite weird.
Yeah, the rusty refrigerator. So I'm super glad that that hotel did not work out and we moved to Gili T because it was awesome. Okay, so let's talk about what spot you didn't like.
Mount Ijen. The whole purpose of going to Mount Ijen was to see the blue flames. Now, this was where our travel guide fell short.
That was our travel agency fell short.
Well, a travel agency fell short. I had made that perfectly clear that I wanted to see the blue flames. So they said, great. We go to the side of Bali, hop a ferry, go to the next island over, and then it's another hour, 2-hour drive up to this beautiful hotel that we stayed in. It was just, the whole landscape was picturesque. The room, it was...
The beds were awful.
The bed had seen a day or two, to say the least. But it was just, the people were amazing. I mean, they were so friendly and so nice. And so we wake up and they're like, okay, you got to wake up at what, 2? We got to the base, and this is a heck of a climb. They say it's mostly flat. It's a little.
They said kids could do it.
Yeah, I mean, we were, last minute we'd have decided not to take our kids with us because we were like waking them up at 1:30 in the morning to drag them up the side of this thing. It just wasn't work because we had a 8-year-old at the time, and you know how 15-year-olds are. That had gone over like a lead balloon.
Yeah.
But this trail, and we're in pretty good shape. It took us
forever. It felt like forever.
It probably took us 40 minutes to get to the top.
It actually took us longer. It took us about an hour and 15 minutes. It was only supposed to take about 45 minutes to an hour, but it ended up taking us a lot longer. And like Joel said, we're in really good shape. So I was surprised at how hard that was.
Yeah, and we were passing people right and left going up the hill and stuff like that. So it's not, maybe that's what I had in my head, is they told us it's a 45-minute walk. It's not a 45-minute walk. It was
a hike.
I think they said it was like a whole 1.9 miles, I believe is what they said. And by the time I was done going up there, the watch was just under 4 miles by the time we got to the top. So it's a heck of a climb.
Yeah.
And then we did all that for the purpose to see the blue flames. And our guide was like, well, you can't see them. He's like, they've been closed for months and months and months and months. He's like, that's just, he's like, I'm surprised your agency didn't tell you that. So hiked all the way up there, didn't get to see the blue flames. Our guides had us depart so late that we didn't get to see the sunrise.
Nope.
And there was 1 billion people. I mean, 1 billion people. They were everywhere. The drones sounded like bees. They were flying all over the place and stuff like that. Yep. So if your whole goal is to go over there to see the blue flames, make sure they're open, leave very early, and
give yourself lots of time to hike it.
Plan to have a lot of people up there. A lot of people. So I would pass on Mount Ijen. That's my pass.
That's your pass.
What would you skip?
So I think for me, I would skip like the interior of Bali. We went from the North Bali to the middle so we could go to a temple and a waterfall. And one of the temples was awesome. Like that was super cool. The one with the lake.
Yeah.
That one, I loved that temple. But the hotel wasn't very nice. And like we said before about the smoke aversions, there wasn't really anything to see. And the roads were super, super windy and hilly. It was really pretty, but would I stay there again? No. But I would go instead from northern Bali straight to Ubud because Ubud was super cool and had like really awesome vibe, and the Laughing Buddha and everybody there is awesome.
Ubud's fun. Yeah, check out the Laughing Buddha. Had a good time there.
Yeah. So in our last Should You video, a lot of people really commented about how much did it cost us to go to the Philippines for an entire month. And money is something that I'm just really not comfortable talking about, but I want you to know that what you do is going to depend on how much it costs. So whether or not you have private drivers, whether or not what hotels you stay in versus hostels, if you take public transportation, what kinds of excursions you do. And so for us, because we're a family of 4, it's more economical for us to have a private driver. It's more economical for us to have certain types of hotel rooms. And we prefer to have private guides for our outings because we want our kids to feel very comfortable and not get lost in the commotion.
Or a big group.
Yeah, and we just feel safer with them being with just us. And so your cost is really going to depend on what you do and where you stay and all of those things. For us, for the entire month, we spent $15,000. And again, everything was private, and we stayed in some very nice resorts.
Yeah, I mean, that includes food and transportation and travel and airfare and all of that.
Right.
So it's a lot, but you could definitely do it way cheaper than what we did it.
And like Joel said, this is a treat for us because we live in Saudi Arabia and we don't travel around the country often, and we don't get out often. And so we do save our money, and we save our money so that we can splurge on that. And so if you want to have the experience that we had, then that's the cost that it's going to be.
And so the other thing when you think about, for us, it's very easy to save our money here because, back home in the States and stuff like that, if you're hungry, what do? You order a pizza, you stop by Wendy's, you go get a junior bacon cheeseburger.
Or you go out to a restaurant and eat.
Go out to a restaurant and eat and all that stuff. We don't really have that option. We can do it. It's not that easy. $15,000 is a lot of money, but if you actually probably looked at your budget of what you spend every month on fast food and stuff that you really don't need, you probably put $15,000 away pretty easily, even if you only are making $50,000, $60,000 a year.
Yeah.
By just cutting down and cooking in the kitchen.
Yeah, absolutely. I make my own taco seasonings. I don't buy taco seasoning. I make my own taco seasoning, and I make everything homemade and fresh, and it is a lot cheaper to do that. So if going to Bali is something that you really want to do,
you'll find a way.
You'll find it.
You'll absolutely find a way.
So on to some final thoughts. If you've been watching our other videos, you know that we went to Thailand after we went to Indonesia, and we absolutely loved it. And so our next video that we're going to have come out after this one is Should You Go to Thailand? So definitely stick around for that because you're going to see all of the fun stuff that we did there. But our final thoughts on Bali is it's absolutely beautiful. The people are so friendly. They're so awesome. But it just wasn't for us. No,
it didn't fit us as a family. With young kids, it didn't fit us, no.
And I feel like it's overhyped.
Yeah.
And maybe that's part of the issue of, Instagram and social media is that you see everything, and a lot of those pictures that you're going to see are probably doctored or, colorized and things like that. So it just wasn't what we were expecting it to be. And we have friends that, are here and said, yeah, you guys should definitely go to Bali, and they have families and they had a great time. So we're not saying that you shouldn't go. We're just giving you our experience of how it was for us.
Yeah, we wouldn't go back, or knowing then what we know now, we wouldn't go at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, it was sad that our company, the company canceled on us, because we probably would have gone somewhere else. But anyway, that is our 2 cents and our final thoughts on should you go to Indonesia and should you go to Bali. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please, again, make sure that you hit that subscribe, hit that like button. And when you're done hitting that like button, head over to Patreon where you can support our efforts even further. It's free, or for as little as $2 a month, you can help us out a little bit. Helps us out by buying camera gear and these awesome mics that we're wearing.
Some snacks.
Some snacks. If you want to head over to Venmo, you can buy us some travel snacks there.
Heck
so, yeah, I'm feeling like I need some beef jerky.
Oh, one of those jelly drinks from Indonesia?
Ah,
Panda jelly?
I feel like I need some Slim Jims.
Oh, say it.
Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. We super appreciate it. We appreciate all your comments and everybody who subscribes. So hit that subscribe button. Bye, guys.
See you soon. Proceed.
Take 3. All right.
30.
Take 357. Go. This is a big do, okay?
Do go
like that.
topless. Yes, you should all go topless.
No.
Sarong.
So the next thing to tell.
So wrong, so wrong, so wrong, so wrong.
There's gonna be a lot of outtakes.
It's getting toasty.
My back's gonna burn because my shirt's backless.
I could be lying on the beach, but no, I'm making this video for you peeps.
It's too windy.
No, it'd be a pretty nice breeze, cool, keep you cool.
Maybe. But that being said, what was your favorite place in Bali?
Boobs. That's a place. It's
No.
like Lake Titicaca in Chile.
Please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button before heading over to Patreon, where you can support our efforts even further. You get exclusive content, ad-free videos, and so much more, just for showing your love. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.